My presentation today will be on progress in macronutrient deficiencies in Nepal, an update on Nepal National Macronutrient Data Survey 2016. This is the trend of child mortality reduction. If we look at the neonatal mortality, infant mortality, and under 5 mortality reduction, we'll see there's a reduction over the last almost 20 years. However, the SDG goal, if we talk of neonatal mortality, we have to reduce it to 12 from 21 in the next 10 years, which is still a challenge. Similarly, even for death under 5 is a challenge, and similarly, infant mortality, we still need to do a lot to reach the Sustainable Development Goal. Now, stunting, I think there is a significant reduction from 1996 to 2016 because we have reduced it from 57 to 36, but in next 10 years, we need to reduce it to 25 from 36, which is still a challenge to meet the WHO target. Similarly, for wasting, I think the reduction is not very significant, but there is a reduction, and we still need to do a lot to reach the WHO target. This is the coverage of vitamin A in children under 5 years and the coverage of iodized salt. For iodized salt consumption, I think there is a gradual improvement. And the 2016 NDHS has shown that the consumption has reached 95%, which is really encouraging and is very good. Similarly, for vitamin D coverage, it has remained constant for the last many, many years. The coverage is good. It's around 90% all the time. This is something that surprises us. Besides all the interventions, such a huge effort, we have seen that there is an increase in anemia in the latest NDHS report. In children under 5 years, the anemia has gone up from 46 to 53%. Similarly, anemia in women 15 to 49 years, it has increased. So the anemia prevalence is increasing. Etiology is unknown, and we hope the ongoing NNMNSS, Nepal National Micronutrient Status Survey, will tell us something about this. Iron deficiency is likely to be a major contributor to anemia, which we don't know. And this should also be, I think, made clear by the result that we'll be obtaining very soon. The first National Micronutrient Status Survey was done in 1998. The target population was household, women and preschool children. We assessed the magnitude and distribution of anemia, vitamin D deficiency, iodine deficiency disorder. However, the data for iron, folic acid, vitamin B12, and zinc was not collected. The rationale for doing the latest survey is to see that we get the better know-how of all the interventions that we have made, and the data we have so far with us is not adequate enough to answer many of the questions that we have in our mind now. And the data cannot be used for evidence-based decision-making. The data was never collected for iron, folic acid, vitamin B12, and zinc, so that was thought to be inadequate. There's a high coverage of nutrition interventions, but we don't know what impact all these interventions have made over the past so many years. So these are some of the rationales that we wanted to do the new micronutrient survey. These could be some of the priority questions, actually. What is the impact of macronutrient programs with high coverage? As I said before, the coverage is high for every intervention. Why is there little reduction or this little increase in anemia? What is anemia and iron deficiency status among adolescents? Therefore, NNMNSS 2016 is essential to answer many of these important questions. So the design and methods, it is a cross-section study. The main objective, as I said before, is to assess the status of key micronutrients among targeted population in Nepal. For example, vitamin A, iron, folic acid, vitamin B12, zinc, and iodine. Assess the status of anemia and its etiology among these populations. Measure height and weight among these populations, and assess iron contents of wheat flour and iron content of salt consumed by households. So the data collection tools were questionnaires for household, for women of reproductive age, adolescent girls, adolescent boys, children 6 to 9 years, children 6 to 59 months. And then and the other tools were anthropometric measurements, venous blood collection, stool sample collection, urine sample collection, global positioning system, salt and wet flour samples collection. The total clusters were 180. The household, the target groups for household was 4,020, and similarly the smallest target population was for boys, adolescent boys, 10 to 19 years, and the biggest was for the household. So what was the methodology we adopted? There were 9 micronutrient indicators, and there were 11 biological indicators. For micronutrient indicators, we had plasma retinol, serum retinol binding protein, vitamin A levodopa, serum ferritin, serum soluble transferrin receptor, plasma red blood cells, folate, serum vitamin B12, serum zinc, urine iodine. And for biological indicators, we have hemoglobin, malaria, soil transmitted helminthiasis, Helicobacter pylori, visceral leishmaniasis, blood disorder, complete blood count, alpha and beta thalassemia, sickle cell, hemoglobin E, G6PD, inflammation markers, and hemoglobin. All these tests were not done domestically. Some of these tests were done in the field itself. Some of these tests, around 9 tests, were done in Kathmandu. They were transported to Kathmandu in PSL lab. And then 5 tests were done in Germany. 5 tests were done in Guatemala. They're done in Guatemala, and 1 test was done in China. So the samples were not tested alone in the country. They were also sent abroad for the test, since they were not available in the country. Now, if we look at the situation of the response rate, I think it was excellent. For household, it was almost 90%. For salt samples, almost 98%. And for wheat flour samples available, wherever available, they were tested, and it was 100%. Now, since we had to send the samples abroad, the shipping was done in October 2016 and January 2017, and it took almost 7 to 9 months to obtain the results from various countries, and from one country, the report is still being awaited. And all these, there's a backup of the samples in case we need it for further reference. It is been stored in the NPHU lab in Kathmandu. Now the work is ongoing in full swing. The work is in full swing. By the end of July 2017, we expect to get the final results if everything goes smooth. The data are being checked, the templates are being generated, and the report writing is going on. So the conclusion is, this is the first largest micronutrient survey in the country. The survey is providing a rich data set relating to key micronutrient status and programs to guide decision making for nutrition policy and program in the country. However, we will need to wait for a couple of weeks to get the final result. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you.